We're talking all about cameras. So there are many different types of cameras out there, and everybody every day is like, what camera should I buy? Should I buy this camera? Should I get this camera? And nobody, the only person who can answer that question is yourself. It's all about how much money I want to spend on a camera, the lenses I want to use on the camera. Maybe I have some old lenses laying around from a previous camera that I can use on updated cameras, stuff like the Blackmagic that tends to always use either Canon cameras or Canon lenses or the micro four thirds lens. So me personally, seeing as how I started with Canon photography and then got into videography and things like that and cinematography, I decided to go with equipment that uses the EF mount. So I have 3 cameras here, the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema 6K camera, which uses the EF mount. I also have an old dog, the Blackmagic Cinema Camera, uses the EF mount. And I have a old Canon 7D, which also uses the EF mount. Okay, so all these cameras are very different. Some don't shoot 4K, some don't shoot 4K in RAW, some only do full HD. Some, like my Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera, shoot all kinds of different resolution and frame rates. So I figure I'll pull all these old equipment out and bring out the new equipment, and we'll try these all out and just kind of do some camera testing today. So I've got a little setup back here. We'll see it without lighting. We'll see it with lighting. Does lighting enhance your video? Yes, it does. Does lighting enhance your camera? Yes, it does. And we'll see some of that today when we test out all these different cameras. So let's just give a rundown of what we're using and what we got. I'm shooting with the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 6K. So we're not going to see that here, but I'm using it to film myself, and we'll see it on the test footage. Okay. And then next I have the Blackmagic Cinema Camera, the old dog. This has been a fantastic camera for me, and if you really want to get into video or cinematography kind of work, this is a nice budget camera. You can start right here. It shoots 4K RAW, it shoots 2.5 RAW, and then it shoots full HD on top of it, not in RAW, in Apple ProRes. High quality 422. Great little camera. It's been a beast. Still running strong. Love it. I can't say anything bad about the Blackmagic lineup. Next, I have something a little bit different. It's the Blackmagic Micro Cinema Camera, the little guy. This uses the micro four thirds mount. I have a Lumix lens on it from Panasonic that I use. Not my favorite lens in the world, but since I have mostly Canon lenses, this was the only micro four thirds setup I have. But overall, I do love this camera. This has just been a little fun camera that I can go out and shoot around anything. I can mount it to anything. I can mount it to cars. I can take it inside cars, do some handheld work. Really been a beast of mine. I love it. Sadly, it is not 4K. It is the full HD version. In order to have 4K, you had to have an external recorder. So I prefer to shoot everything on SD card, some kind of media management system, without having to go out and spend money on a new monitor and things like that. But overall, been a great camera. Then we move into something a little weird, just a very cheap action camera. I like this for certain things, and then I don't like it for other things. I do love it in scuba diving and underwater, doing that kind of stuff. Great camera. Out shooting and really an action camera. Don't really enjoy it at all, but I threw it in there because it is 4K. It is 4K, 24 frames a second, 60 frames per second. It's great for that kind of thing, but not my favorite image. So we'll take a look at that just for fun. I've got the old dog, the Canon 7D, which I really love. EF mount, of course, just like my Blackmagic Cinema Camera and my Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera. Full HD, couple different frame rates, mostly 24 and 30, 60 start to drop down, I believe, to that 720. It's really hard to keep up with all these frame rates, but old camera, been a workhorse of mine for many years, and still going strong. I still like to use it for some video work sometimes if I don't want to color correct or whatever. The colors are usually always great. The glass on it is usually great. The APS-C sensor is great on it, so I like to take this out and shoot some things sometimes. Next, we have the Canon M50 with the EFM mount. I guess that's EFM micro mount to it. It does shoot 4K video. It's a very small little camera though. You can see how tiny it is. Has great images. Great 4K video. This is not something I'm going to really shoot professionally, but I can do podcasts with it or something like that. I can do YouTube videos with it. Maybe I can do some action stuff with it. Has a great image. Again, doesn't shoot RAW and things like that, but a great 4K image, as I always expect from Canon, and that we will see here in a second. So I'm going to set this all up, and really the big thing I'm going to point out is that we're going to use this lens. This is just a 20 millimeter USM lens. It's I think it's 2.8 on its widest aperture. This is not a high dollar lens, so since this is a budget filmmaking, budget podcast, getting started, starting to learn video channel, I figure I'm not going to pull out like the most expensive glass out there. I want to show budget glass and budget cameras like the Blackmagic Cinema Camera. You could probably buy this for about $500 US now, used of course, and probably get some extras like a cage to go on it, maybe some solid state drives to go in it, and maybe a few extras like that for 500 bucks. Do it. The Blackmagic Micro Cinema Camera is probably still running about $600–700 now. Maybe you get a cage with that, couple of SD cards, which is what that shoots on. The M50 is fairly newer camera. I'm not sure about the price on that one, but the Canon 7D is probably going to cost you around $200–300 now. You find it used at the right price, come with a couple extra batteries, maybe a CFast card. That would be great when you're talking a budget world. So since I only have 3 cameras that use the EF mount, the Blackmagic Cinema Camera, the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera, and the Canon 7D, we're going to use this 20 millimeter lens on it and check that out. And then on the Canon M50 and the Blackmagic Micro Cinema Camera, we're going to set these are very similar lenses, so we're going to set them kind of around that 14 mark for the crop factor. Try and get everything in the same perspective. And then the action cam is just a wide angle lens. We're just going to see a wide angle on that. So, but I did want you to know that 3 of these cameras are definitely going to use the same lens. One in 4K, and 2 of them in 2K or Full HD. We're not going to shoot anything above Full HD. And then we'll play a game. Can you spot the difference? What is 4K? What is not 4K? And then later I will share with you which camera is shooting what. And we'll see if the match game comes out right or not. So take your score and watch the video.